Hey cutie. I have been chomping at the bit to film my Pan That Palette update for at least a week now. I have made some serious goals. I've hit some serious goals over the past couple weeks in my Pan That Palette, and I am so unbelievably excited to share my progress with you guys. I know you guys are so encouraging in this project as well, and I've really enjoyed doing a Pan That Palette more now than I feel like I ever had before, and I feel like that is because I'm doing a rotational style Pan That Palette. So if you are not familiar with how I'm doing my Pan That Palette, First, I'm going to recommend watching my playlist just so you know what's going on. But I did build my own custom Colourpop palette here. I just took the Going Coconuts palette and I bedazzled it with some rhinestones I had. And I have been selecting shades out of all three of my Colourpop palettes that I own in my collection. And I've been selecting shades to finish and hit pan in. And I've been finding some really great success in this project. So this past month has been no different. I am so unbelievably excited to share my update with you guys. Like I mentioned, I have hit some incredible goals. I had some goals that I wanted to hit in this palette, so I'm going to first just kind of go over those. My goal in general is to use each shade 10 times. I did want to hit pan in 2 shades. There's a metallic gold in here called Genie, and then I wanted to hit pan in the matte dark brown Nutty. I also wanted to finish the shade Glow for it. It's the one in the pictures you've been seeing. It's the one that has the most progress in it. This is what my palette looks like today, and I am so excited to share it with you guys. And hopefully you can spot the big sizable difference, but we're gonna go over it anyway, so no worries. So I'm gonna just quickly mention, I will have all of the tallies, the uses and everything up here. If you are more of a visual person with numbers, we're just gonna go shade by shade in this palette and discuss the uses, the goals, and everything like that. So Tease Me is the first shade in the palette. You can tell there's disturbance in the pan. However, there's not been a ton of use in this shade. This is the first month that this has been in the project, so any use was just use on the pan. So I'm excited for the progress that I did make because I can actually see usage in this. Like the pan looks disturbed, and when I had rolled it into this project, it was basically untouched. So this is the first month that this has been in my Pan That Palette, and I did actually meet the goal to reach for this 10 times within the past month. So that's exciting. Moving on to the next shade here, that was the shade Glow for it. And as you can see, we actually completely finished that pan of eyeshadow up. That was so exciting for me. I really had been focusing on this for the majority of February to try to hit pan and finish. This is the third month that this has been in the project. I did use this as a cheek color and like as a highlight as well as an eyeshadow. So I spent a lot of time focusing on this pan of eyeshadow in particular this past month. I did reach for this 14 times over the past month, which does include some of those highlight uses. I do tally those as a use as well. But overall in the project, I've used this 38 times. I'm so excited that this shade is out of this pan. Can you freaking believe it? I'm so pumped. Moving to the third shade in that palette is the shade On Holiday. It comes from my Bare Necessities palette. And this is the one goal that I didn't expect to meet in the course of the past month. I was not anticipating hitting pan in that shade of eyeshadow, but I'm so excited that I did. This is the third month that this has been in the project as well. I reached for this shade 18 times in the past month. I've really been enjoying it with a shade that's been in my project 24 uses. But overall in this project, I've reached for this 43 times. And I hit pan in it. And I was not expecting it. I am so unbelievably happy about that pan. I'm kind of getting over the cool tone trend that I've been finding myself wanting to reach for, and now that the sun's coming out a little bit more throughout the day, I am finding myself wanting to reach for more of these like warmer tones in the palette. So I am really excited that that is rolling out of this palette right now. Then Moving to the second row, the first shade in that second row is the shade Genie, and that is the shade that I did actually want to hit pan in over the past month, and I was able to meet that goal. As you can see, I did reach for the shade 10 times over the past month. I actually hit pan on it after the 9th use in this month, but I wanted to reach for that 10 use goal, so I did reach for it that 10th time. Overall, in the course of this project, I reached for Genie 24 times. And I hit pan. So excited. I really liked this as a base shade. I would layer it underneath and then pile other multi-chrome duochromes on top just to get a nice base color and then something to change it and make it look a little bit different. I really enjoyed reaching for this shade. Next, this middle shade in the palette is the shade The Talk. This has been in for 1 month now. I've used this 3 times, so nothing super sizable, nothing really to note. I'm using it. Very, very sporadically, but I am using it. Moving over to Shell Yeah, that has been a item that's been in the project this whole time as well, 3 months. I have used that 11 times over the course of the past month. I've reached for that shade 28 times total. So, I mean, and it does not look used at all. I mean, you can definitely tell it's used, but man, it, like, in comparison to a shade like this or even this, like, you can 10 uses, and that looks super used. I've used that 28 times and it doesn't even look as used. That's just wild. Moving down here to the shade Complicated. This is actually the 2nd month that shade has been in this palette, and I'm making slow progress with it, but that's because I was focusing on this shade, and then before that there was another shade in here that I was really focusing on. So my new focus is really these shades. Over the past couple weeks I've really set my focus to these two because they are softer formulas from Colourpop. But Complicated, I actually reached for 9 times in this project so far, 11 times in total in this project. So slow usage, but I am making progress in it. The middle shade in the bottom row, there is another Bare Necessities shade. That's the shade Designer Duds. Barely looks touched because I barely touched it. Again, that is another shade I used 3 times over the course of the past month. It's a really beautiful shade and I really can wear it every day, but again, I would use this in a similar capacity that I used Genie, so I really wanted to focus on the shade. So now that that's gone, I can focus on Designer Duds and try to get that pan by next update. Then here is the shade Nutty. This is actually an original pan from the Going Coconuts palette. We hit pan. I know that was a goal that I set for the month, but I really wasn't expecting to hit pan in it, honestly. It was kind of one of those goals where I was like, it'd be cool if I met it, but like also I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't hit the goal. But I did reach for Nutty 12 times. I can't remember when I hit pan in it. I want to say it was around the 9 use mark, and I've just kept using it since. Try to expand the pan a little bit because it is a pretty little tiny baby pan in that pan. But over the course of the past 3 months, it's been up in this project since the introduction, I have used that a total of 47 times, which is just wild. Again, you see the different use in different items in these palettes, in these pans, and it's just crazy how different shades can take. It's just wild. But I am really excited. I've already gone over and selected the pans that I want to put into this palette now. And I can't wait to share this new color story with you guys. So I'm going to quickly just throw the color stories that we've been working on so I can swap these shades out really quickly. And this is the new color story that I'm going to be using at least the next month. Probably a little bit longer than the next month. You can see we have a lot more color than we've been having recently. I do want to just tiptoe a little bit into some more colorful shades, and I figure what better time of year to roll in some of these more colorful shades than springtime when things are kind of blooming. We have more floral colors that we're going to roll into this palette, so I can just get some use out of it and get some different looks rather than like the sea of neutrals that I've been doing, which I'm not mad about. I've really been enjoying my neutrals, but it's going to be nice to kind of have a couple pops of color that I can pepper into some looks here and there. So the first shade in the palette that we're rolling in is this guy here. That is actually from the Sailor Moon palette. That's the shade Luna, and this is the first time I'm rolling a pan of eyeshadow with a pan already in it. And I haven't really decided if I want the goal to be finish for that shade or if I want the goal to just be like a usage goal. That is the shade Luna swatched out. I have the shade Tease Me and then Luna underneath it. I think right now for a shade like that already has pan in it, I think what I want to do is just set a usage goal right now, just to get use out of the shades, but not necessarily to only focus on them, because again, there is a pan in there, but these pans still take a long time to actually finish up. I want to set a 25 use goal in this project for that. Moving to the next shade there. This is actually another one from the Pretty Guardian palette with Sailor Moon 2. That's the shade Miracle Romance. It's just a nice, bright, bright purple. Reason I want to bring that in is one, I think the Pretty Guardian palette is perfect for this time of year. It's very, very spring for me. And I think that having a shade like this where it's sheer and you can really build it up. It's the bottom shade here. It also is going to go really well with the shade here called Luna. I like to pack it on all over my lid and then pile things like this shade on top of it just to change the color and give it a more dynamic look. Then this shade here, this very neon shade here, is actually the shade Tuxedo Rose. Again, another one from the Pretty Guardian palette. It is a very, very bright neon coral, and I cannot wait to use that. That's going to be a shade that's going to pair really, really well with my Flower Moon palette. I can't wait to use this. All of these shades over here are the matte with shimmer, so they're a little bit softer. I didn't plan for it in the palette. I just liked how they looked in that way a little bit more. But yeah, that's another one of those. And then last but not least, right here in the bottom corner, I have another shade from my Bare Necessities palette. I know we haven't rolled any of those in this update, but that's from the Bare Necessities. That's actually the shade Crack On, and I feel like it looks a lot darker in a swatch than it does in pan. Oh man, horrible place for it. That is actually the shade Crack On, and that is actually my color story. I'm going to take a screen or like a grab of this and I'll have it to the side so you can see the new color story in itself that we're working with over the next month. But I'm actually really looking forward to reaching for this palette and grounding a lot of looks with it. And because there's a lot of neutral matte shades in this palette, a lot of matte shades in general in this palette, it's going to allow me to really gravitate towards other palettes in my collection, especially palettes that might have a little bit more shimmers in it, like some of the ones that are in my current spring rotation that have a lot of shimmers in them. So I'm really excited about this. I have some goals that I want to meet over the next month, really just two main goals. I want to use every shade 10 times. That's going to be across the board every month. You guys know that. 10 uses for every shade. I also feel like I could hit pan in the shade Tease Me. I know it's only going to be in for 2 months at that point, but it is a softer pressed formula from Colourpop, so I do actually think I can hit pan in this shade pretty easily. I also think that I can hit pan in one of these two shimmer shadows in the middle, either the Talk over here or Designer Duds, the bottom middle one. So I think I can hit pan in one of those. It's going to be my focus. One of them is going to be my layering shade, where it's my base shadow that I put other shades on top of. So I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm almost thinking the bottom one because it's a little bit deeper than this one. This I think can lean me into summer a little bit better. This one I think is going to be a little bit better for spring when it's still a little bit colder. And that's really it. I just want to hit pan in 2 shades and get my 10 uses. I think I can do it. That's going to make me have progress in other projects like my eye bank and things like that, and I'm still not getting burnt out on this color story. I'm actually really enjoying reaching for this palette, and I've honestly almost wanted to put everything else away and only focus on the shades in this and then like multi-chromes. So that is it for my Pan That Palette update. Let me know in the comments how you're doing in your projects. If you're doing a Pan That Palette, I would love to know. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, I hope you're staying healthy, sane, and safe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!